Welcome to the New Money Habits Podcast, where we talk about how to create a better plan for your money so you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. Here are your hosts, Sarah Jones and Nino Villa.
Welcome back, Budgeteers. Coach Nino Villa here, and alongside me, Sarah Jones, my partner on the airways, who the last time we checked in with you, Sarah, you were in Denver. Are you, or not, sorry, Colorado. I'm one of those people who outside of Colorado, I think Denver's like the only city that's there. It's a big state. My apologies. The last time I checked in, you were in Colorado. Where are you tuning in from today?
We are still in Colorado, and I've got some pretty good mics here. I don't know if you can hear the wind outside, but you're likely going to see my plants in the background moving if you're watching this. Or if I've got a shaky voice, it's because the wind is blowing very, very heavily today.
Really?
And we are moving all over the place. So still in Colorado, but taking off shortly. So
All right. And heading down south, coming this way?
yes, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I hope that, the wind stays calm enough and doesn't that'll be interesting. If I look behind you, I actually just heard some rattling. Something just rattled.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting if I'm looking behind you and the plants are kind of waving back and forth.
I posted a reel on Instagram, I think last week or something, that we were sitting and the wind was so strong that all of my plants were literally, back and forth. And so it's the real deal when you live in a fifth wheel and the wind is blowing, your house literally shakes and moves. And so, there's some plants moving. I don't know if you can catch that, Nino, but they're moving.
Wild. All right. Well, stay safe out there. All right. So today's topic, I want to kind of jump in here. It's the month of November, and I've heard this term kind of thrown around about no spend November or no spend insert month here. And so there's this like trend out there in the world where people are kind of dedicating an entire month to not spending. Mm. And I want to kind of unpack that a little bit because I'll be the first to say, I'm not signing up for that. I'm signing up for wise spending, but I want to kind of provide a little bit of context, a little bit of background, and I think we can jump into this. So, like I said, there seems to be this trend about having an entire month where you dedicate to no spending. And when you kind of peek behind the curtain and you click on the title of the blog article or whatever, and you get a closer look, what these financial gurus, we'll call them, although I don't think they're gurus, are telling people is that, for a full 30 days, do not spend on anything other than your essentials. If it's not a need, then you shouldn't be spending money on it. And while I can appreciate where they're coming from and what they're trying to do, I think that this is a horrible, horrible message to send people about how to really manage money well. Here we're all about forming new habits, and it usually takes about 21 days to form a new habit. So I could get behind doing something for 3 or 4 weeks, but a blanketed statement about not spending on anything that's not an essential seems a little overkill to me. But what say you, Sarah?
I mostly agree with that. Because, we talk a lot about spending according to your values and why do we want, I like spending money. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I like spending money. And so if you're going to tell me that, hey, this is a whole month where I don't want you to spend money, I'm going to probably be angry. Because I want to spend money on the things that are within my values, right? And are in alignment with what it is, who I'm becoming and what I want in the future. And to your point, I think that and dare I say originally, I don't know where this originated from. So in my mind, when I first heard these no spend months, I thought, you know what, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe. And I think the premise behind them is not a bad idea. But I have found that there's so much shaming that goes along with these months. And I have said it before, I'm sure, and I'm going to say it again. I am so tired of these wants versus needs conversations when it comes to money. And if you're going to say, hey, let's do a month of, you only spend on what you need, you can't spend on what you want, I'm now instantly turned off by that. Because it's not addressing what I like to work with in clients, and I know you do as well, right? Is our true habits and our behaviors and our intentionality and being mindful and just limiting and depriving and going into scarcity mode with our spending. I think that goes against what I want to be teaching and the information that I want to be putting out into the world.
Yeah, and you just said in a very important word there, depriving. I'm not into you must deprive yourself of this, that, and the other. I want to switch out that one D word for a different D word. I want to get rid of deprivation and depriving yourself, and I want to replace it with discipline. Let's just be disciplined in how we manage our money so that we can take care of the things we need to take care of, and so that we can have the things we want to have. Or said another way, that we can take care of what's absolutely essential, and we can still spend on some of those conveniences that we desire. Now, I'll be the first to say, like, in moderation and with intentionality and within like limits, right? Like, kind of limit yourself. So that's where I think, I'm excited about our conversation today, because helping people to like not focus on, I must deprive myself and I must not spend on anything. Instead, let's just replace that with a little bit of discipline, a bunch of intentionality. Let's have a plan. And then you can take care of all the things you're required to take care of, and you can still enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. You can have, dare I say, you can have the best of both worlds.
What? It's not an either or thing?
All or nothing. Either this or that. Nope.
Oh, I love this. And, I'll say, there's been pieces of this that I've used with clients before. When I'm working with somebody that has a particularly difficult category of, and I'm going to say overspend, which means they're not being intentional. And some of it, emotional spending or, triggered spending, right? And sometimes they're kind of doing it before they even recognize that they're doing it because it's their default, right? And they haven't recognized the habit yet. So I've used, and I'm going to call it a tool, that we've had the conversation, how about you not go out to eat this month, right? How about you not purchase clothes this month? Because it does not fall into their essentials categories, right? They're doing it to fill another need within them. They're doing it to fill this hole in another area. And so I've definitely introduced this concept of, let's pick one category that we're having a particularly rough time in, and let's work on identifying the habit. Let's work on being disciplined in this area. And let's really look at, how does this area spending or not spending, how is it in line with your values? And how is it falling into that category of who are you becoming, right? How is it really helping your future and helping you get to where you want to go? And so let's take a look at this area. And I've challenged people to not spend in specific categories before. But that doesn't mean not spend. We've introduced into their budgets ways to contribute to those categories that are in alignment. So they're not an unintentional spend. It's not, hey, I got bored and I'm jumping on one of the major retailers online and I'm just going to order some stuff, right? That we're building in the intentionality and the discipline needed so they can carry this forward and feel good about the decisions, right? And feel good about how they're spending their money.
Yeah. See, I like that, and I can get on board with that. Let's pick a category, right? I go back to this blanketed statement about you can't spend on anything that's not an essential. It just seems a little overkill, ridiculous, and unnecessary. Where, to your point, let's really identify what are the categories you're struggling with. Why do you think you're struggling with those categories? What are the triggering effects? What's the emotional tie there? Let's actually uncover some things. And then let's try to implement a new, healthier habit for how to manage that particular category. I love your example of clothing. See, clothing in the Villa household is not something that we do. Like, this is not a month-to-month thing for us. A long, long time ago, when I was a W-2 employee who's paid bi-weekly, I established that those 2 months in the year that you get that third paycheck were automatically the months that we set aside extra money for clothes, and then we went and bought the clothes that we needed, right? But to your point, there are so many people out there. I've worked with so many clients that clothing is either part of their monthly budget, or when we first started working together, it wasn't even a part of their budget. It was just part of their spend. And so it's a great example of going after a category where maybe there aren't real clear boundaries or limits. And it's about establishing some boundaries and limits. Nothing crazy. It's not that you can't go out and buy new clothes. It's, hey, let's take a look at your budget and let's see how much your budget can afford, either, every pay period, every month, once every 3 months, whatever that time interval is. But put those boundaries together and then fund it, contribute to it, have the money there ready to go before you spend it. But like you said, and like I just kind of reiterated, it takes a little bit of, let's look at the category you're struggling with and why you're struggling with it, and understanding what is the behavioral side of that, so that we can introduce a new habit and something that the client feels good about, that they kind of say, hey, you know what? I can do that. It's not that I have to deprive myself. It's just that I have to institute a little bit of discipline here, a little bit of intentionality. I'm going to put together a plan, and then I'm just going to go and execute that plan. And I got to tell you, whenever I've done this with a client, they feel so much better about their spending, even if the dollar amount didn't even change. Just if the way in which they did it, instead of going and being impulsive and putting it on a credit card and then dealing with that later, if it's, I set aside the money, then I go shopping and I bought it with cash, or maybe I still put it on the card, but I pay it off right away, they just feel better about it. And those are the kind of results I'm interested in helping people achieve.
I could not agree with that more. It takes people out of being in a reactive state all the time, right, into being more proactive, moving them into the planning stages of this, and getting us out of this reactive state. And being in a reactive state all the time, it messes with our nervous system, right? It puts us in this kind of this fight or flight mode all the time, right? And so then it that bleeds over into all other categories of our budget. And so if we can move out of that reactive state and move into something that is very proactive, that's very intentional, that we're planning, even to your point, even though they might not necessarily be spending more, but they're spending intentionally. And it goes along with who it is that they are becoming. It goes along with, okay, these are actually within my values, and I feel good about it because I know how I'm going to do this. And I want to even point out one thing with the whole no spend month, or the no spend months that they put out there. Nino, as well as I do, that things in life happen crazy. Things happen, right? And so if I'm in a no spend month and I'm being told out there, don't spend this month, only on the essentials, and then something crazy happens in life, maybe an amazing opportunity comes my way, that's going to throw me into this turmoil. Right? This is going to put me into a situation that's like, oh, I don't know. And maybe we lose out on opportunities that come our way during these months that aren't necessarily beneficial, right? It's not helping us develop good habits. It's putting us into this weird, man, I'm not supposed to spend this month, but there's a really good opportunity here. And I've got my opportunity fund, right? But, it's a no spend month. And so I think it just creates a weird dynamic with people and how we view money and view our spending when these whole no spend months come about. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm not on board with second guessing, right? Or taken away. I think it kind of takes away our ability to make those choices if we participate in these no spend months.
Yeah, I think there's some real truth to that about you can't plan for everything, right? And so an opportunity fund or I used to kind of joke with clients about like planning for spontaneity. That just sounds like an oxymoron. Like, how do you plan for spontaneity? Well, if you have some money set aside, like an opportunity fund where it's like, hey, this money is set aside for the things I can't necessarily plan for. I didn't know they were going to happen. Or maybe I knew they were going to happen, but maybe I didn't know when. I'll give you an example. So I got 2 kids who are in grade school. Well, one in middle school, one in grade school. And their school just announced that they're going to have like a uniform sale where you can buy slightly used uniforms for like $2.
Wow.
And it's like, well, I didn't know. I know that the school does that, but I didn't know when they were going to do it. And so they just announced it. Well, if I'm in a no spend month, but now there's an opportunity to get what is otherwise a necessity for cheaper, it's like, so you're right. It puts you in this like weird space. Now, I will say, as you said that, and I thought about it and I was like, yep, I agree. Another thought did occur to me and kind of crossed my mind. And that is, I don't know why, but the word fasting kind of like came to mind, right? Where like people will say like, I'm fasting and maybe they're fasting from food altogether for a day or two, or maybe somebody's fasting from sweets for a week or whatever. And I think this kind of came up because my daughter just did like this fasting challenge where she fasted from every other liquid other than water. So no soda, no juice, that sort of thing. And so as you were saying that, this word kind of came to mind that, there are moments when it is appropriate to kind of fast, to step away from something. But when you're fasting, you're usually stepping away from one thing so that you can focus on something. I'll go back to the word you're always using. What's in line with your values? So you're usually stepping away from this one thing so that you can focus on something that you value more. Now, if you're doing a no spend month because of that, sure. But how many people are like, I'm not spending on these things because I'm really looking at my values and I value these other things more? Or is it more of that shaming that you were talking about earlier and feeling obligated, or I have to do this because of this, that, or the other? So this is what I'll wrap with this and say, it's another reason why I like the categories. Because if you're going to fast, just using that word, from clothes shopping for the next 30 days so that you can focus on something you value more, well, I can get behind that. But again, that goes back to the behavioral side of things and why are we doing it and where's the intentionality?
Right. And I'll even take that a step further, that it doesn't do you any good to just eliminate something if you're not recognizing the benefit and why you're really doing it, right? And so if you're not working on how is this benefiting me, if you're only doing it to not spend money, how is that really benefiting? Because not spending money, in my opinion, doesn't benefit you.
It doesn't benefit you. That's a really good point. Because if I go back to even the example of my daughter who decided she's going to just drink water and eliminate the other beverages, she probably didn't do this at the beginning. But if you would ask her now, how did that benefit you? Well, she's a runner. She runs cross country and track. And so being more like getting some of that crap out of the body and being more hydrated helps her perform better, right? Feel better, perform better. And so I love that. Let's reflect on why are you doing this and to what benefit, right? So that you can then focus on the benefit part of it. Oh, this will help me to achieve this other goal, or it will help me to, kind of, maybe you're somebody who has said, like, I feel like I'm out of control spending in this area, and this will help me to gain control in that area that I want to gain control in. And those are really good reasons to do something like that, that go beyond feeling like shamed into it, or I have to because, I'm otherwise a horrible, rotten person.
Right. And I think that focusing on the benefit of what, you hope to achieve, right? What is the real benefit? And I'll say, I don't think that not spending money is a real benefit. And that might be counterintuitive, or people might be saying, well, gosh, what does she mean by that? I want to be very intentional with my money. And so I don't want my money to just sit in my account and not have a purpose, right? That's just because I'm not spending it. I want to look at what is the benefit. If I'm going to address the situation, a category, right? That maybe I'm struggling in. Maybe that I've got an impulse spending problem in a certain category, and we'll go with the clothing, right? So limiting myself, right? And saying, no, I'm going to challenge myself to a no clothing spend month. So what's the benefit? You know what? I'm going to put the money that I maybe would have spent, or I'm going to choose to put $50 into my clothing budget. So I've got money the next time I want to go shopping, right? It's not about the not spending money. It's about, how do I want to use this, right? This, you know what? By not spending money on clothing shopping this month, so I'm going to take that challenge, and I'm going to dedicate a chunk of money to put into an investment. Or I'm going to make a payment on a debt that's been bothering me. Or I'm going to build up my peace of mind fund, because that really is more important for me right now. So I'm going to be really intentional. And that's the benefit, is it's helping me to recognize where I really want my dollars to be going. Right. And so, but not spending it and just keeping it there. And that's another thing that I think I have a problem with in no spend months, is they don't address that. It's not just about not spending money. It's about, where does that money go? Where do you want it to go? And I haven't seen that in any of the challenges that have been thrown out there. So.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I was clicking around, preparing for this, just kind of seeing like, what are some of the things out there more recently? And to your point, it's not about focusing. Like, some people will try to list benefits, but their benefits are never what you just outlined, which is, where am I redirecting these dollars so that I take care of the things that are more important to me? I think it's those two things. It's how is this going to benefit you, and how is it going to align to your values, right? If you're going to stop spending in a category for a month, for a week, whatever that is, figure out where those dollars are going instead that aligns with what you value and what's important to you, And you're right, none of them are talking about like the redirecting of funds into things that are more important.
Right. And so I would just say, if somebody's looking at doing one, then do it in a way that really does align, right? Do it in a way that really feels good. And I'm going to say, please don't do just a no spend month. Maybe if you feel like you're struggling in a category, pick a category and say, instead of spending here, I want to really look at, what am I trying to accomplish, right? What is the real benefit? What do I want the outcome to be here? And I don't believe that the outcome is never to not spend in a category. The outcome is, I want to look at my habits, or this is a category that, really spending in this category every month isn't in alignment with who I really want to become, right? In my future and what I'm working towards. And so if you're looking at paying off debt, and maybe you're spending in a category, and I'll just go with the clothing, you're spending in a clothing category every month, could you choose to not spend in the clothing category each month and instead choose to make a larger payment to a debt. And maybe you're going to feel better about that decision because you're doing something that fits with what you're working towards, what you really want to have happen, right? And so it's just that redirect and recognizing, what can I do? What can I choose to do differently? So instead of this, I'm going to do this. So I would say if anybody's looking to do a no spend, maybe pick a category and take it slow and understand the benefit, what benefit you really want to get out of it. What's the true purpose of it?
You know, as you were sharing that, I'm feeling a little challenged. I'm feeling like I want to challenge myself in a particular category. So there's an element of my entertainment budget that is set aside for like poker night with the guys, right? And that's fine, but I'm feeling challenged right now that I might want to take that little element of that entertainment budget and redirect it maybe between now and like the end of the year to giving. Because if I have this money to blow, because I mean, think about it, like poker's gambling. Gambling is, you're pretty much blowing your money. But if I have this money to give away, why not redirect it towards some giving opportunities, you know? I don't know. As you were talking, I just kind of got a little bit challenged there. And now I think I want to accept the challenge that for the next couple of months, that little piece of my entertainment budget be redirected towards giving.
Wow. I love that. I'm trying to think, because I always love a good challenge. You know, I throw challenges out all the time. So, I just talked with my husband about this the other day. One thing, and I used the word concern. One of my concerns with getting back to Arizona was our experience money. There are a lot of things that we really love doing in Arizona, right? And we have a whole separate fund for experiences. And we've never put a cap on what we would spend each month. It's just, here is our fund. And we're pretty good about, choosing how we're spending that. But I told him this is a concern. And he said, I think I agree with you. So maybe my challenge for him and I is going to be, I'm going to put a cap on what we spend for experience money in Arizona for the rest of the year.
There you go. I like it.
Because sometimes having that open-ended, if we've both identified that there's a concern there, right? There's a great opportunity for a challenge and a great opportunity to address that. And to see what we can come up with to do for free, right? Or to change how we spend those dollars. That might be a fun challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think both of our examples are really highlighting everything we talked about. It's about redirecting to align to values, right? For me, like entertainment and specifically gambling, although I enjoy the time with the fellas, and truth be told, I'm kind of good at it. So sometimes I walk away with more money than I walked in with. But that's not the point. The point is, like, I value giving and being a blessing onto others more than I value entertainment and gambling. So why don't I put my money where my mouth is? And I will accept this challenge. It's not a no spend month. It's a let's redirect some funds that are going one place to a different place that you hold in greater value. And it sounds like for you and your husband, it's similar. It's, yes, you have the money set aside and you've planned for that, and that's great. But allowing it to kind of be open-ended and willy-nilly doesn't really align with your values. Your values are, let's have some boundaries, let's have some limits, so that, because the other great thing about that, though, I find this every time around like the holidays, if you do one of those gift exchanges and it's all like, everybody, buy a gift, but it shouldn't be more than $20. Right? It really opens you up to, so what can I do for less than $20, but that's also still really awesome and thoughtful and all those different things. And it sounds like you and your husband have an opportunity to kind of do some of that with your experiences. Like, hey, because there's a cap, let's be a little bit more creative. Let's be a little bit more thoughtful, and let's find some things that we can do that aren't going to cost us a ton of money, but are going to be really cool experiences.
Absolutely. And I think it allows us to make sure that we're doing things that are in alignment, right? That we're not just doing them to do them, right? It's not just the big fad thing happening. What is the purpose, right? An experience. What do we hope to gain out of this experience? And it's not always about spending money, right? It's about being in alignment with your values and what are we hoping to get out of it? What are we hoping to gain from this experience? So I just wrote down, Nino, I think it would be fun by the end of the year to have another episode as a follow-up to this to see how well we did.
Yes. And to see like what experiences we had because of this. So I love it. We did not come into this episode planning a challenge, but I love it. No. And, you know, I kind of maybe want to invite our listeners that if you're kind of moved to some type of challenge of your own, why not join us on our Facebook page? And, go to New Money Habits on Facebook or go to Instagram, New Money Habits there, and let us know, like, if you're challenging yourself to redirect some funds and what that challenge might be. But I think that would be really cool.
Absolutely. And can I throw out there, Nino, can they email us too? If they're not on social media, can they send us an email with the challenge that they're giving themselves? Just want to make it open to everybody. So if they're not on social media, maybe send us an email with the challenge. And because we would love to follow up with you too to see how it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And that might be the easiest way. So email us at podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Let us know, like, what challenge are you setting forth for yourself? That'd be really cool. And then I love the idea too of coming back in a few weeks, a couple of months, and just to, like, sharing what happened, like what was kind of the result of our challenge.
I love this. See how many great things, this is just a good example of how many great things can come out of simply having a conversation, right? Normalizing the conversation about money and looking at the opportunities out there, and how many really great things can come about when you simply open up and share and bounce ideas off of another person. So I love this. I love it.
And that's why I like our format so much. Yes, you and I talk about what topics we want to address kind of before we get on, but we really don't script this thing. We don't plan out every detail. We just kind of let the conversation unfold. And I love the authenticity that brings. So thank you for that. And I'm excited about the challenges that we're posing to ourselves.
Yeah, so am I. I made some notes, and I'm actually kind of excited. I'm already excited for the follow-up episode to see all the good stuff that's happened. And we haven't even finished this one yet, but I just want to encourage everybody, send an email, because and it doesn't have to be some big grand thing, right? I mean, it's what means a lot for you in your life, and that's what's important, right? It's not, hey, I'm going to not spend $1,000. I want it to be a challenge that you take wholeheartedly, and you want to make the habit changes, right? You really want to redirect this because it's more in alignment with your values. So I'm looking forward to hearing all of them that we receive. So
very cool. Well, I think that's a really cool place to kind of wrap things up. I'll encourage our listeners again. You can find our email address down in the show notes, but you can email us at podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Let us know what your challenge is going to be for redirecting some money to be more in line with your values. Down in the show notes, you can also find links to schedule time with Sarah or myself. If you're somebody who just needs help, either with this topic of kind of redirecting funds, or you need help identifying the categories, or more specifically, the reasons why you struggle with certain categories, or you just need to get a budget put into place and you need a little bit of accountability to help you with that, you can schedule time with Sarah or myself. Thanks as always, Sarah, for a very cool and compelling conversation. I appreciate you, and we'll continue this conversation next time.
Thank you for listening to the New Money Habits podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Keeping Up with the Joneses Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our host by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes. Join our growing group of like-minded people on Facebook and follow us on your favorite platform. Music provided by Summer School.